All right. Well, speaking of racism, we'll finish up with the story.
All right.
So apparently,
Yeah.
store owners in affluent neighborhoods have all agreed or joined an alert system
Okay.
that is generated through an app on your phone,
Okay.
especially in Georgetown, just outside of Washington, D.C.,
Okay.
that apparently has become a very affluent area.
Georgetown, which is what? The black school? The black
Yeah,
college?
where the college is. Yes, correct.
That's pretty much a black college, isn't it?
Well, the college is, but the area is a very affluent, upper scale because it's been gentrified
Okay.
over the last decade or so.
All right.
So there's a lot of because this is outside of Washington, D.C., so this is very near where all of our politicians live and obviously work.
Right. So they can get some votes by cleaning that place up.
Yeah. So there's some very upper scale, high end stores there in the shopping district over there.
Sure.
So somebody developed an app that is sort of like for lack of a better description, sort of like an Amber Alert.
Okay.
That if one of these stores experiences like shoplifting or some kind of crime or something happens within their store, they can send out an alert via the app, and all the other store owners in that district who subscribe to this app would be aware and be on the lookout for certain suspects or people who are suspected of being like shoplifters or something.
All right. That doesn't sound bad.
No, it's not. But now there's a racial component to this.
Oh, boy. All right.
All right. It was nearing closing time in March last year when a manager of Boffi, that's Boffi,
Okay.
Georgetown, dispatched a series of alarmed messages
Okay.
observing two men yelling outside the luxury kitchen and bath showroom. Julia Waters reached for her phone and accessed a private messaging application that hundreds of residents, retailers, and police in this overwhelmingly white, wealthy neighborhood used to discuss people they deemed suspicious.
Okay.
Two black males screaming at each other in the alley, Walter wrote. Help needed.
Right.
One minute later, a district police officer posted he would check it out, and Walter felt relieved.
Okay.
But as weeks gave way to months and the private group spawned hundreds of messages, Walter's relief turned to unease. The overwhelming majority of the people the app's users cited were black. Was the chat room reducing crime along the high-end retail strip? Was it making people feel safer? Or was it racial profiling?
You've got to be kidding me.
No, I'm not kidding you. These are questions being asked across the country as people experiment with services that bill themselves as a way to prevent crime, but also expose latent biases.
Yeah.
The application Sketch Factor, which invited users to report sketchy people, faced allegations of racism in both the district and New York. Another social network roiled Oakland, California, when white residents used Nextdoor.com to cite suspicious activity about black neighbors.
Okay.
Taking it even further was GhettoTracker.com.
All right. Now that might be getting a little far.
Which asked users to rate neighborhoods based on whether they thought that they were safe or ghetto.
What is that? Ghetto Tracker?
Yeah, GhettoTracker.com. GHETTO Tracker.com.
Is it all one word or two?
It's all one word. Ghetto Tracker.com.
Ghetto Tracker. I'm just looking for the app. No app. Let me try this. There's no Ghetto Tracker app in the store, but let me go to ghettotracker.com. Doesn't seem to be loading. I think they might have closed that one now.
They could have.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, Operation Group Me is stirring controversy in Georgetown.
Okay.
In February of last year, the Georgetown Business Improvement District partnered with District Police to launch the effort, which they call a real-time mobile-based group messaging app that connects Georgetown businesses, police officers, and community members.
Right.
Since then, the app has attracted nearly 380 users who surreptitiously report on and photograph shoppers in an attempt to deter crime.
Okay.
The correspondence has provided an unvarnished glimpse into Georgetown retailers' latest effort to stop the oldest scourge, that is shoplifting.
Okay.
But while the goal is admirable, the result, critics say, has been less so, laying bare the racial fault lines that still define their cobblestone enclave of Tony boutiques and historic row houses that is home to many Washington elite. Since March of last year, Georgetown retailers have dispatched more than 6,000 messages that discuss suspicious people. A review by the Business Improvement District of all the messages since January, more than 3,000 revealed that nearly 70% of those people were black. The employees often allege shoplifting, but other times retailers don't accuse these shoppers of anything beyond seeming suspicious.
Okay.
Suspicious shoppers in the store, an American apparel retailer said in April last year, 3 female, 1 male, strong smell of weed, all African American. Help, please.
I still don't see the problem, even with that.
What did they...
That not be a suspicious person in a store? In an upscale fucking bed and... What is this, like a bed and bath?
Well, it doesn't say exactly what this store is. It says a suspicious shopper in a store, an American apparel retailer.
Oh, okay.
That's what it just said, American apparel.
Wasn't that Boffy store?
No, and it doesn't say that.
Okay.
What did they look like? A True Religion employee in May last year asked an American apparel retailer who had reported a theft.
Okay.
Ratchet, the American apparel worker replied.
Ratchet?
Yes.
What does that mean?
So I had to look that up.
Okay.
Ratchet is a diva mostly from urban cities and ghettos that has reason to believe she is every man's eye candy. Unfortunately, she's wrong.
I've never heard this.
I never did either. Typical signs to be aware of include, but not limited to, owning a BlackBerry, blares anything by Drake, 2 Chainz, Nicki Minaj, Gucci Mane, Waka Flocka, Lil Wayne, T-Pain, Cali Swag District, or any other garbage entertainment rapper, rowdily quotes lyrics from aforementioned artists, has a weave reminiscent of a bird's nest after a tempest hit the tree it was in, and has died at least thrice.
Wow.
Wears torn leggings or stockings, mostly from the fishnet variety, unpolished 8-inch heels or higher, depending on how god-awful they look, fitted jean jackets to accent the blubber around the arms and the stomach, and 4 layers of caked-on makeup to go clubbing.
Wow.
Repeatedly use ludicrous terms such as YOLO, swag, boost, breaking, dough, really, nah, actually, twerk, coaster, daga, etc. to make a valid statement when they speak.
Okay.
Have side bangs despite having Incredibly small ass foreheads to support them are commonly overweight and are mind-numbingly stupid. A safe assumption to make would be saying they're uneducated as if they could pass the 4th grade. If spotted, please report to the authorities, notifying them that they are possible smack addicts or potential degenerate Chaka Khan lookalikes.
Jeez.
So that's what ratchet means.
All right.
Okay. So this American apparel retailer described the suspects as being ratchet.
Here, I'm going to put one in the chat room right now. Copy image.
Okay.
Put it in the...
All right. To continue on while you're trying to load your thing. Suspicious tranny in store at Ware reported one worker in Hughes Ware in May. AA male as female, 6'2", broad shoulders. Tranny is offensive slang for transgender.
Right.
The retailers have also uploaded hundreds of pictures to the chat room, many of which they took clandestinely. Since March last year, the images show more than 230 shoppers, more than 90% of whom are African American.
Okay.
Known thieves, one retailer wrote beside a picture of 3 African American women without specifying any evidence. Look out.
Right.
It's unclear what effect, if any, such as correspondence has had on crime in the area. Some retailers say the community feels safer and more connected, but it has precipitated relatively few arrests. And Joe Sternlieb, chief executive of Georgetown Business Improvement District, which organized the group, he added, "It's impossible to know what's working and what's not to deter crime."
Okay.
People who know about the group are nervous to talk about it. District police declined numerous requests for comment. Some retailers wouldn't discuss the group. Others would, but only on a condition of anonymity.
Okay.
It's such a volatile issue that it's not a good idea to be on record, explained one man who requested that he only be identified as a Georgetown retailer. Every headline in the country is about officers and the race issue, and it's a terrible issue, and this is a delicate balance. Shoplifting has always been an issue, and as long as there's stores, lower income people are going to have a higher tendency to steal.
And I just posted a ratchet picture. Is that what we're talking about?
Apparently that must be it.
Wow.
She's a ratchet, I guess.
I guess. Whoa.
On any given weekend, the shoppers and restaurants of Georgetown hum with a sense of commerce. Established as a port town, Georgetown once marked an important stop in mid-Atlantic shipping routes for transporting slaves. Eventually, those free slaves found a thriving community of 4,000 black Georgetown residents before economic, social, and legislative forces ushered their exodus.
Wow.
By 1972, around 250 black people lived in Georgetown. According to the 2010 census data, 3.7%, or roughly 800 of the 20,464 residents of the Georgetown, Burley, and Hilldale neighborhoods are African American. Whites account for 81%. When Georgetown University's senior Liv Holmes first moved to the neighborhood, the racial disparity made her feel especially conspicuous. Other students, she said, would sometimes ask her if she went to Howard University, a historically black university. Or, she said, M Street retailers would suggest she couldn't afford their merchandise. "We are racially profiled for sure," said Holmes, who grew up in the upper Marlboro, Maryland, where blacks outnumber whites 2-1. "As I walk into the store, the assumption is to follow me around. When you feel the person is over the top of your shoulders, you do feel like you're being racially profiled, and you will leave the store and say, 'I won't give you any of my sales.'" But then in 2012, she took a job at one of those M Street stores. Within months of working at Sunglass Hut, she saw her first shoplifter.
Okay.
It happened so fast, Holmes said, there was little she could do. And in those moments, she said she would have liked to have had some way to tell the other stores what had happened. Sometimes letting others know, hey, we just got jacked is a good thing, Holmes said.
Okay.
The Georgetown business community has long tried to broaden communications among stores and enable what Holmes had wanted, but nothing ever seemed to work. Phone trees, email lists, block captains all failed. Every store fended for itself. We are looking for ways to share information as quickly as possible, said John Webson, a Georgetown Business Improvement District official, and nothing was quicker than the GroupMe application, which he calls a valuable tool in preventing shoplifting.
Nice.
But 18 months in, some residents wonder, is the price of this new tool, is the price this new tool exacts too high? That was a question Leslie Hickson, a Georgetown sociology professor who studies race and inequality, tried to answer on a recent afternoon. She had known about the group for months and had scrolled through most of the messages. It's almost like a sociology experiment, she said. The group has codified its own language and operating culture. African Americans are referred to as AA. Hundreds of images of unaware African Americans circulate in the group. We should be honest here, Hickson said. Crime does occur in Georgetown, and quite often when people describe the perpetrators of those crimes, they're usually young men of color. But that doesn't mean every person of color is an automatic suspect. To be fair, police officers and others frequently press each other for more details or correct users who veer into stereotyping. One person in July reported that 3 AA males currently in Zara smelling of weed. One officer advised him to call 911, and then another replied, that's not a crime. Where initial assumptions would turn out wrong, in February, an employee at Who's Wear surreptitiously snapped a photograph of a tall, elegantly dressed African-American man wearing distressed jeans, a gray scarf, and a long brown coat. AA male, the retailer said. He just left, headed toward 29th Street, about 6 foot, tats on his neck and his hands. Very suspicious looking.
Okay.
An employee at Suit Supply saw the message. He recognized the man, but he was no shoplifter. He was just in Suit Supply, the employee wrote, made a purchase of several suits and some gloves. Another time, a black American Apparel employee wearing orange took a selfie in which she smiled, framing a shopper in the background. Look out for these girls, she said in an accompanying message. Known thefts.
Okay.
Good job on the pics, said the Benton employee. Only known thieves would smile for the camera. Yeah, an American Apparel manager said, not to be confused, girl in the orange is our employee.
That's funny.
Officials with the Georgetown Business Improvement District said they're aware of what they call questionable postings. So they have passed out brochures establishing guidelines on how to use the application to communicate concerns without offending. Retailers may panic when they see suspicious behavior and dispatch messages bereft of details. The group ultimately got to be too much for Julia Walter, the showroom manager at Boffy. She was one of the first people to post that March evening last year, but has since turned off the application. Too many messages, she said, too much racial profiling. Not every African American person who comes to the showroom is suspicious, she said, and it made me super uncomfortable that the made me sometimes look differently at African Americans when they come in here. And I don't want to do that.
Then you know what? Then clean up your fucking community.
Right. I hate profiling just because they're a certain ethnicity, but unfortunately, it's the reality of what's happened.
Yeah, well, the reality of what's happened is that the fucking thieves have been black guys.
Right.
That's the reality.
Sure.
You know, this is not racism. This is fucking the product of what these people are. None of these people, let me pull that back. Most of these people are not racist. They just don't want their shit stolen.
Right.
And they're gun shy because of what they've seen. If they had been being robbed, let's just turn it around. If the last 10 times they've had people shoplift from them, it's been white guys, they're going to look at white guys that way.
Sure.
You have to profile people.
Right.
You just have to. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. Those in front of you create the way that you're treated. We've said that before, and I don't remember what, but you are always going to be held to the standard of what the person in front of you did. No matter what your fucking makeup is, black, white, fat, thin, whatever. If thin guys go in and fucking steal food, from a cookie store or whatever, and every time it's thin white girls, guess what? They're going to look out for thin white girls coming in.
Right.
It's just the way it is. And the way it should be, to be perfectly honest. Right?
That's true. I mean, I've been profiled before. But I didn't get outraged by it. I knew I was being profiled. This was when I, had the longer hair, and I know I've told this on the show before, but when my hair was like down to the middle of my back and I would go into a store or, shop around or whatever, and I'd be wearing my leather jacket and have the long hair and stuff, I knew that I had security people following me.
Sure.
But I didn't go, "You're profiling, man," because I knew what I looked like.
Sure. When I talk to people now, I talk to them on the phone, then I meet them in person. They're always like, "Oh, you're different than I expected." Yeah, no shit. Yeah. No shit. I sound like a professional, but look like a fucking degenerate fuck.
Right.
I know that. It's fine.
Sure.
Whatever.
So that's how it goes. But that's going to wrap up the show.
Wow. Already?
It's all over.
Wow. All right. Good night, all.
Went quick tonight.
It did go quick, but racial stories make me sick.
Yeah, I know.
I'm tired of fucking people.
It just never ends.
Yeah.
I like that AO Rocks GIF he's got in there about the ratchets.
Ratchets, there they are. It's hot as ever.
Yeah, I'm dancing around.
Ugh. Disgusting.
Look at that other one he's got up there. Who let her come out of the house like that? Ooh, she ratchet.
Ugh.
That's the first time I ever heard of that.
I've never heard ratchet before.
Yeah. Well, now you have.
Yeah, now
you can add that to your lexicon.
Yeah, maybe I'll find use for that at Aliquippa.
Yeah, you'll be all ratchet and shit.
Yep.
Nice. All right, well, we didn't have any guests tonight except for our friends in the chat room and our callers and whatnot. So we have no one to thank except for ourselves. Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome. Thank you, Neeley.
You're welcome, Chris.
Thanks.
All right, well, we're going to get out of here. What would you like to hear to close the night out, sir?
I'm going to go mellow tonight. How about from Corrosion Conformity?
COC?
Yep. From American Volume Dealer. Or America's Volume Dealer.
Okay.
I would like to hear Stare Too Long.
Okay.
That'll do.
All right. Sounds good to me. And there it is.
You know what? Since Jackal's going to be working on that weekend, we're going to do a best of that weekend or a pre-record or something.
Okay.
Because COC is coming with Pepper Keenan in the band.
Oh, well, look at that.
On the same night. So I was fretting missing that. Now I don't seem to have to.
All right. Well, go to the show because I'm going to go to the show.
Yep. I'm thinking I'm going to the show.
All right. All right. Well, we're going to get out of here. Thank you for everybody tuned in and be a part of the show and blah, blah, blah. We'll be back next Saturday. we'll do it all over again. So I'm going to leave you with some Corrosion of Conformity with Stare Too Long. So until next Saturday, this is Neeley along with my good friend
Is Agan.
And we're gone.
Bye, kids.